Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon. So today we are going to do a chapter called planning. Now, my first question to you is, what is planning? And when do we plan? On what occasions do we plan? Yeah. When do you plan? What are the occasions when you plan?
When we are taking a trip outside.
Excellent. And that's right. On point, yes. When you're taking a trip.
When we have some kind of event.
Excellent. When you have some kind of event, yes. Perfect. On point. Yes, tell me some other ways and other occasions when you plan. For a wedding, right? You plan for a wedding. You plan for events. You plan before taking a trip somewhere. You make a weekly plan for yourself. So all of these various things are situations wherein you plan beforehand, right? Before a wedding, you make a list. These are my guests. I'm going to call them. On this date, I will have this event. These are the clothes I'm going to wear. So you plan the whole event and then you execute it. Even if you're going for a trip, you plan the whole trip. It's a 7-day trip. I'll go here, I'll go there, I'll do this, I'll do that. You make a complete plan and then you go for the trip, right? Similarly, we are going to learn about lesson planning. Okay, now what is a lesson plan? A lesson plan is basically a structure, a step-by-step procedure of your everyday lessons that you teach. Okay, it's a step-by-step procedure about how you will teach. And it answers the questions, what am I teaching, how will I teach, who am I teaching, and how will I know if the students are understanding. So when you make a lesson plan, you make a step-by-step procedure from the beginning till the end. It's a 35-minute class. You begin your class. The first 5 minutes I will introduce. The next 10 minutes I will teach. Then the next 10 minutes I will play a game. Then I will test the students' knowledge. So this is the whole procedure of your lesson planning. It's a step-by-step procedure and it shows the teacher. It's a clear map for the teacher. It gives guidance to the teacher about how she's going to go about the whole lesson. Now I'm going to teach you in detail how to make a lesson plan. So the main components of a lesson plan are, number one, the first and foremost is the lesson objective. Okay, the lesson objective is the most important part of a lesson planning. If you are clear with what you want to teach, you will be able to execute the whole complete lesson in the best and perfect manner. If you are not clear with your objective, you don't know what to teach. Okay, for example, if besides teaching, I'll give you another example. If your objective, suppose at home, you wake up in the morning and you know that you need to serve your family breakfast. That's your objective. You know your objective clearly. My objective is to serve. Okay, so once you are clear with your objective, you know what you have to do ahead. Okay, you prepare the food, you make sure the ingredients are perfectly balanced. Okay, you make sure it's not too salty or too bitter. That's your objective. Because you have the objective clear in your mind, you will be able to execute the lesson plan very smoothly ahead. Okay, so in academics, I'll give you examples of 3 subjects: maths, English, and science. For example, if I'm teaching maths and my objective is solve addition problems up to the number 10. In English, if I'm teaching verbs, my objective would be use verbs correctly in sentences. If I am teaching science, my objective would be recall movements of body parts of the waist and the legs. So now I have my objectives for all the 3 subjects clear. This is the first part of lesson planning. Now let's go on to the second stage. This is another important stage. It's called the hook. Why do we call it a hook? Because it hooks the attention of the students. Okay? It grabs the attention of your students. If you start your lecture on a boring note, if your lecture starts only in the boring manner, you come and you start talking, the student will not be interested in what you're saying. Your lectures to start in a very interesting manner, and that's why it's called the hook. How can you make your lecture interesting? Maybe you begin by showing a video, maybe you begin by playing a game, maybe you begin by asking questions to test their prior knowledge. Okay, there are several different ways in which you can begin your lesson. Try to make it an interesting beginning and start so that the students are already hooked. Now, let's continue with the same topics. In maths, how will you go ahead? So you're doing addition. You will give items and ask them to count. Then give more and count again. For example, if I give my students 2 pens each. I say, how many pens are these? They will say 2 pens. Then I give them 2 more pens. And then I ask them, how many in total are they now? They'll say 4. Okay? So I did not directly come and start teaching. Oh, come on, we are studying addition. I wrote 2 plus 2 on the board and I start teaching. That will be very boring. I started by giving them a pen. Then I gave them another 2 pens. So they started learning that concept based on real life. Okay, and that's what gets them interested in that subject. Similarly, for English, now I can play a game, a small game, imitate actions on a placard. On a placard, I write sing, jump, comb your hair, bend. And then I call each student and I ask them, whatever is written on my placard, do that action. So if jump is written, the student will jump. If comb your hair is written, the student will comb his or her hair. Okay, so I'm introducing the verbs. I'm introducing the topic verbs in such a manner by playing a short game. Up till now, the students don't know what I'm teaching. They just know that they are doing a particular action. Okay. In science, I can make them exercise for 5 minutes. Okay, since we are doing movements of the body, I can start by telling them, come on everyone, stand up from your seat and let's exercise for 5 minutes. Okay, so this is called the hook, the second most important part of the lesson. Then comes the main part of the lesson, that is teaching. Okay, teaching is the main part, and this consists and this will comprise of most of your lecture. Okay, teaching will take more than 10 to 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, in teaching, you teach the main and the most important parts, what your topic comprises of, what you are going to teach, the method, the explanation, everything will come into this part. Okay, so in English, so in maths, now you will actually start teaching them. You will tell them, I'm teaching you addition. You write 2 plus 2 on the board is equal to 4. And then you start writing more sums, 4 plus 4, 4 plus 2. Okay, along with the students, you start teaching them, you explain the concept of addition. You tell them what you're teaching, and then you explain the whole concept of addition. In English, for verbs, you will write the definition and examples on the board. Now, you will tell them what we did previously, the actions that we are doing, they were verbs. Okay, so verbs are action words. And then you start explaining in detail what verbs are, what is the definition of verbs, okay, what are the different kind of verbs, they are action words, and you explain the whole concept. In science, you will list the movements involved in bending, twisting of the waist and the legs. So basically, the teaching part is the actual content, okay. And also, it's very important to divide your time. Okay, it's important to divide your time. Now, the first part of the lesson, that is the hook, that will only take 3 to 5 minutes. It's very important that you time yourself. The hook will only be for 3 to 5 minutes. Then my actual lesson will be for 15 to 20 minutes. Okay, 15 to 20 minutes I will actually teach the main concept. I will explain the whole thing in whatever manner I want to, by showing a video or by explaining it on the board or by reading, whatever we want to do, that you can do. Then we go on to the fourth part of the lesson plan, that is the guided practice. Now, after you have taught the student the whole concept, after you have explained to the student the whole concept, now you want to see whether the student has understood that concept. Okay, so what will you do? You will, along with the students, make them solve sums. Along with the students, ask them what verbs are, solve some exercises. So this is guided practice. Along with the teacher, the students do it. Okay, they don't do it by themselves, because obviously, first a student needs some help initially. Later on, he'll be able to do it by himself, right? So how do we do this? In maths, for example, you can write the sum on the board and the students add them. Okay, or for example, you can do an activity. You can keep a bowl with numbers and ask the students each to come and pick a number. Okay, and then another student comes and picks another number. Then the two students come together as a pair, and then together they add their numbers and give the answer. And the teacher throughout, she is helping them. The teacher is helping them. If some student is not able to understand the addition problems, the teacher goes to them and helps them. Okay, this is how you do it. Are you not able to understand? This is how you do it. So the teacher is going and helping them while they are doing these sums. That's why it's called guided practice. The teacher is still guiding them. For English, you can read a story. The students can identify the verbs So how do you do it for English? You read a story, okay, any story, a short story, and while reading, you ask the students to pick a verb. Okay, I'm reading, and randomly I tell one student, come on, tell me which verb is used here. Tell me a verb in this sentence. Okay, in the paragraph, pick out 5 verbs, and this is done along with the teacher. If they are not able to understand, again, I will intervene and I'll help them, okay, to pick out the verbs. Another activity that can be done is one student comes here, okay, and does an action, and the other students, they try and guess what he's doing. Okay, like how we play, what is Damsharaz, yeah. So you can play a small short game like Damsharaz, and that will also be entertaining for the students. They'll enjoy the activity and also learn. For science, you can do this activity of think, pair, and share. So you will make pairs of 2 students each, give them a topic, tell them, tell me the various movements that a human can do using the waist and legs. So 2 students each, they think together, then they come up here and they share whatever they have thought, whatever the exercises they have come up with. Okay, so this is another activity that can be done. Now after the guided practice, after the students have understood how to do it, now the main part of the lesson comes when we understand if the student has actually understood or not. And that is through the individual practice. Okay, in individual practice, the teacher is not helping the students. The teacher is only testing the students to see and to know whether he has actually understood the portion that I've taught right now or not. And how do we do that? Through individual practice. Guided practice will take around 5 to 7 minutes. Individual practice, what can you do in individual practice? You can either give an assignment for home, a homework that can be done at home, or if you have time in class, it can also be done within the class. For maths, you can give a worksheet. For English, maybe you can give homework. You can tell them, go home, make a list of 10 verbs each. Make a list of 10 verbs and tell me if you while going home on your way, you saw a stranger doing something. So write that verb. I saw a stranger riding a bicycle. Riding is the verb. Okay, I saw a boy picking up trash. Picking is the verb. Okay, at home, I saw my mother cooking. So cooking is a verb. Okay, so there are several verbs in a day that the child will observe and make a list of all the verbs that he saw throughout the day at home, on the street, in the park, wherever he goes. And then he'll make a list of 10 verbs and get it to school the next day. This is how I get to know whether the child has understood what verbs are. And he's also applying it in real life by seeing people do it around him in reality. Then in science, you can write 5 actions you can do with your legs. When I ask the students to write 5 actions that they can do with their legs, if they are able to write, I understand that yes, up till now, whatever I have taught, they all have understood. Okay? So this is the individual practice. This might also take around 5 to 7 minutes if done in class. Otherwise, it can be given as homework at home. Then lastly comes the closure. Okay, closure is like a small 3 to 5 minutes closing session. Okay, after I've taught the whole class, after I've completed teaching, in the end, I will revise in short. Okay, quickly tell me, what are verbs? Their action words. Which verbs have we learned today? List them quickly. Within 2 minutes, tell me everything we've learned in the class today. I'll pick any random student and ask him to tell me. Okay? Either you tell me or either you explain it to me. Any short activity can be done. You can revise it on the board or you can yourself revise it and speak it out. And in short, just in 5 to 6 sentences, you have to revise what is done in the class. That is called the closure. Okay, so these are the 6 main steps of a lesson plan. Now, if you have these 6 steps perfectly, go to the next slide. I'll tell you the importance of making a lesson plan. Okay, once you have these 6 lesson plans, 6 steps in your lesson plans perfectly sorted out, then you are yeah. Then you have 6 benefits. Okay, what are the 6 benefits of making a lesson plan? Number 1 is time management. Okay, very, very important. You are able to manage your time inside the class. For example, I have 35 minutes. In that 35 minutes, I know I can only do 2 activities. So I will plan only for 2 activities. I will not plan for more than 2 activities. Okay? I should plan my lesson in such a manner that I should not have extra time left or I should not fall short of time. Okay? Exactly. The plan should be made exactly suiting to 35 minutes. Okay, so I'll do these 2 activities, I'll play 1 game, I'll explain the lecture. My time should not be wasted, nor should I have extra time left. You plan out the number of games and activities, it gives effective results. Now, time varies according to grades. Now, higher classes, for example, above 5th standard, 5th to 10th standard have a longer attention span, whereas 1st to 5th standard don't have such a long attention span. Okay, they can't concentrate and focus for so long. So what happens when you are teaching, when you're making a lesson plan for grade 1 to 5, you should make sure that every 10 minutes you are changing your concept, you are changing the method of teaching. Throughout the 30 minutes, you can't just keep talking and talking and talking. The first standard child will not retain anything. So for a first standard child, you need to keep changing the method every 10 minutes. First 10 minutes, I will show a video. Second 10 minutes, I'll probably play a game. The third 10 minutes, I'll do a short activity. Okay, so 10 minutes, I'm changing my activity. And you should also make sure for grade 1, you take activities that involves running around. For example, if I'm teaching colors in grade 1. So I'll tell my students, okay, everyone run around the class, and whoever spots the color green, go and touch the color green. So everyone runs and touches the color green. Yellow. So everyone runs and touches the color yellow. Okay, so they are running around and they're having fun, and that way they're learning colors. Another activity for the same topic, if I'm teaching colors, for the next 10 minutes I can probably sing a poem that has the names of all the colors. Okay, students tend to remember anything in a sing-song manner better rather than just speaking it out plainly. Okay. The next advantage of making a lesson plan is there is scope for improvement. Okay, there is scope for improvement for the teacher as well as the students. How is it for the teacher? While you are planning your lesson, plan, you understand faults. For example, I've made my lesson plan and I'm going through it. I feel that no, this activity is not suitable for this grade or for this particular child or for this topic that I'm doing. So while making the lesson plan, you can sit and quickly erase that and think of another better plan, a better method to teach, another better video. Okay, so while planning, you can review, edit, add ideas, delete concepts, whatever you want. So while planning, you can, there is a lot of scope for improvement. You can change things according to the subject, the grade, the student, okay, their preferences, their mood, etc. Also, you can keep the materials and the props ready. For example, if I'm teaching and I need a bowl of chits, if I'm teaching and I need plants, if I'm teaching and I need placards, any object or any prop that I need, if I have already planned out, then I can keep that material ready beforehand. Otherwise, what would happen if I just go and stand in the class and I start teaching impromptu, and I get a wonderful idea, oh, I can play this game, but I need a placard for that. Now, what will you do on the spot? You don't have a placard on the spot with you, right? So this is also a very good benefit of making a lesson plan beforehand. You have all the props, all the materials ready with you. Okay, so you don't have to go hunting during the class. Okay. Also, after the lesson is complete, you can reflect on your lesson. You yourself as a teacher, you would know, okay, today's lesson was very nice, it was perfect. But sometimes you think, no, I think I could have done better. Instead of using this method, I could have used this method. Okay, so you can reflect on your plan later only if you have made that plan, right? So another advantage of making a lesson plan is you can go back, reflect, see what are the mistakes that you have made, and correct those mistakes. And next time, plan in a better manner. It builds confidence in teachers. Okay, this is very, very important and very vital to understand that once you have a lesson plan ready with you in front of you, the teacher becomes extremely confident. Okay, I know what I'm teaching today. The teacher enters the class with confidence. I know what is the topic I'm teaching. I know how I'm going to teach. I know what materials I'm going to use. I know which method I'm going to use to test them. I know what questions I will ask. Yes, you also need to prepare the questions beforehand. You don't need to stand there and think, what should I ask? What should I ask? No. You should have everything ready beforehand, even the questions. So the teacher is extremely confident. I know everything I'm teaching. I also do background research. I should have knowledge of the whole subject. I do background research and I go, today I'm teaching verbs. If the child asks me the tenses of verbs or the perfect continuous tense or present continuous tense. I should know all types of tenses. So even though I'm not teaching that, I will do my research and go in case someone asks me that question. Okay, so this will build confidence in me, and if I am confident, I will automatically deliver a smooth lecture, an exciting lecture, and effective lecture, right? It also gives me a positive attitude, and I get a sense of accomplishment, which will again motivate me to take another class next time, correct? Next, another importance of making a lesson plan is that it makes the teacher systematic and organized. Okay? For example, you are clear about your objectives and goals. Suppose if I just go into the class and start teaching, I haven't made a lesson plan. I start teaching verbs. Now I don't know my objective. What is my objective? Do I just want them to know the definition of verbs? Do I want them to know the tenses of verbs? Do I want them to use verbs in stories in real life while speaking? Okay? Or do I just want them to know that verbs are action words? There are many different parts of verbs. Okay? There are many objectives that you can take. So you have to decide beforehand what my objective is. If you don't know only what your objective is and you come and start teaching verbs, the child is confused, you are confused, you don't know what you're teaching, you don't know what you expect out of your students. So the lecture will not be of any use. Okay? You need to be clear with your objectives, and this is the advantage of making a lesson plan. You are systematic, organized, you know clearly exactly what your objective is. It gives a smooth delivery of a lesson. You also save time using appropriate strategies. Now, once you are clear with what you are teaching, you will choose the perfect strategy. Okay, for example, again, if I have not made a lesson plan and I come and start teaching verbs. Now, what happens? I didn't know only what I had to teach. I didn't know if I had to teach them the tenses of verbs or just basic verbs. And now I'm confused. What do I do? Okay, so once I know what I'm teaching exactly, I don't waste my time. Next lecture, again, I'll have to teach the same thing just because last lecture I wasn't prepared. Okay, however, if I had made the lesson plan in the first place, what would have happened? My lecture would have been perfect and I wouldn't be wasting another lecture on that again. Okay. So you also become a role model for the students. Like Uzma ma'am said in the previous session, that teachers, whatever they do, the students observe and take them as role models. If the student sees that the teacher is an honest teacher, she's kind, she's caring, she's truthful, she's punctual, she's organized, the students also, they keep observing you and try to become like you. So if you are systematic and organized, if the student sees that, wow, my teacher has planned the whole lesson so perfectly. She knows what she's teaching. She's planned all the activities. She's ready with the materials. Anything I ask her, she knows the answer. So the student also aspires to be like you. Wow, even I want to be like her. Even I want to be prepared before I do my exams, before I give my exams. I want to know all the answers. I want to know how to write perfectly. Okay, so you become a role model for your students. You can also tailor, it can be tailored to the students. Your whole lesson plan can revolve around an individual class. For example, if you know that a particular class, my grade 4th A is very smart. Okay, so I'll make such a plan that I will cater to their smartness. I will use their intelligence, and my entire plan will only have activities that is according to their level. However, if 4th B is not that smart, okay, so I'll again make a lesson plan that is separate for them, that will cater to their intelligence, their level of intelligence. Okay, so your lesson plan will cater to the level of the student you are teaching, the grade they are in, the mood they are, their preferences, their background. Okay, so you can tailor your lesson plans. And this will obviously give you a more effective teaching and learning process. Yeah, next. Yeah, then finally you can also check your progress. Okay, once you have delivered the lesson and you have tested the students, in the end, after testing the students, after you get the results, you can see and measure your success, your progress. Okay, this lecture I wanted my students to learn the kinds of tenses. In the next lecture, I wanted the students to learn how to use tenses in stories when they write a story. Okay? After completing the whole chapter of tenses, the whole chapter of verbs, in the end, I will take a test and see, have I been able to complete my goal? Are the students able to use the verbs in their stories? Are the students able to use the correct tenses while speaking? Okay, and if they are, that means I have been successful in making a good lesson plan, in delivering a good lecture. If not, that means there was a fault somewhere. So I'll go through all the lesson plans again and check where the fault is. Where did I falter? Why did they not perform well? What have they not understood? Right? Also, you can see an improvement in yourself, not just the students, also in yourself. If the student has understood, that means you are doing a good job. The lesson is going well. Yeah. After I have completed the chapter verbs, then I can also see whether the students are prepared for the next stage. For example, adverbs. After I teach verbs, I'll teach them adverbs. Once they've understood the whole concept of verbs, now I can go on to the next stage of teaching adverbs. Okay, so lesson plan serves many purposes and it is extremely helpful for a teacher. So it is very, very vital and important that before you go in for a lecture, never do it impromptu or on the spot, but always try and make a lesson beforehand, a lesson plan, which will help you to take an effective lecture wherein you are able to explain well, the students are able to learn well, and it happens smoothly and in an interesting manner. Okay, when you have planned your lesson well, you also know what games you are playing, what activities you are playing, so the students will not get bored. Throughout the lecture, they are engaged. Okay, now also you need to remember that just making a lesson plan is not enough. Okay, I make a perfect lesson plan, the perfect lesson plan. But if in class I'm not able to deliver it properly, it's useless. Okay, it's a waste. After making the lesson plan, you need to make sure that the delivery process is done correctly. Okay, and how do you manage that? This was covered in Uzma teacher session. You should cater to all the students. You should manage the class. You should not just focus on one student. If someone is quiet, you should ask them. You should ask if everyone is understanding. Include everyone. Take names. Okay, so manage the class and deliver the lesson properly. Then only will your lesson be perfect. So besides lesson planning, even delivering is very, very important. And also, one more thing you need to remember, that you're not just teaching academics. Also, your ultimate goal, your purpose is to make the students, to build values, to help them be responsible, caring, and informed, and that they should be beneficial to the society. Keeping all these aims in mind, only if I have these aims in my mind, will I be able to teach them in such a manner. During the class, I will try my best to build confidence in them, build social values in them, okay, make them responsible, caring, kind citizens. Only if I have these in my mind. Okay, so yeah, that's it for lesson planning. Assalamu alaikum, jazakallah.